Hey everybody, apologies for getting this video out a little 2 weeks after the year started, but I wanted to share my top 10 TV shows of 2022 because there was a lot of really good television this year and some stuff that I didn't even see, but I heard was really good. Can't think of any off the top of my head. Severance, that was one, but anyway. Um, I wanted, there was some stuff that I wanted to see that I wanted to get in that I couldn't get in during 2022, but I could during the 2 weeks of this year that we've had so far. So, with that said, here are my top 10 TV shows of 2022. I have no honorable mentions. Number 10 is The Boys Season 3. Okay, I wasn't crazy about this season. Some of the characters are just starting to get uninteresting to me. Huey, Starlight, couldn't care less about them. Butcher has kind of begun to get more and more insufferable with each passing season. I did not like the Temp V storyline in this season at all. But even with all those issues, I still enjoy the show. It's just got an intriguing vibe to it that really no other show has, and I think this season gave some more dimension to the side characters, Black Noir, Kamiko, who are among my favorite characters in the series. It still has all the cool action, the intensity, and the humor that you want in the boys, so it it is my least favorite season of the show so far, but I still really enjoyed it. And all the stuff with Homelander is, dare I say it, it was perfect. So, yeah. It's not fantastic, but I enjoyed it. I think it's worth being on this list. Number 9 is The Legend of Vox Machina. This is an Amazon Prime animated series based on a Critical Role campaign, I believe. It came out in January, and it's getting a second season in like a week. I'm gonna check it out because I really enjoyed this show. It had a lot of fun characters, some that kind of started to get to me as it kind of went along, but most of them were fun. I thought it was funny. The action was really cool. The animation was neat, and I liked the story. Like there was some intriguing stuff in there, going into some of the characters' pasts, and a bit of like family dynamics in there. A lot of betrayal, a lot of just cool fantasy stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Number 8 is Peacemaker, a series that I was excited for because I really love the Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker was just a fun character, and I really like James Gunn and everything I've ever seen him do. So yeah, I was really excited for this show, and it did not disappoint. It gave a lot of dimension to the character of Peacemaker, and I think that John Cena proves that if he didn't already prove it in the Suicide Squad, he proved here that he was perfectly cast in this part. Everybody else was fun. I liked the returning characters were much better than they were in the first movie, and then the new ones were entertaining. I will say, I Vigilante kind of started to get on my nerves just a little bit as he got to the end there, but I don't know, it was mostly funny throughout. I didn't really love the villains in this one, like the butterflies or anything, but the main thing about this show was that the characters were all like interesting. You cared about their relationships to one another, and it ended in a satisfying way, I think. Plus, you get Peacemaker's father in there, who is a really solid antagonist. Yeah, it's a fun show. I'd be interested in a second season, and well, I mean, maybe I don't know if they're gonna do that because of whatever's going on with DC right now. But yeah, I really liked this show. Moving on, number 7 is House of the Dragon. Given how absolutely terrible the ending of Game of Thrones was, I wasn't super eager to revisit Westeros again because I just watched Game of Thrones last year, and this show came out a couple months after I finished watching it. It's rough. Yeah. But this show, it started to intrigue me with some of the trailers and stuff, so I checked it out, and I am very glad I did because it's able to, like, have all the same qualities of like the great seasons of Game of Thrones, where you have all these interesting characters who have interesting like relationships to one another, and you're in this absolutely lawless, chaotic, and brutal world of Westeros, and they're just like you never know what's gonna happen, who's gonna do what to who, because there's just so much complexity and layers to everything that's happening. And but this show didn't feel like it was trying to copy Game of Thrones at any point, I think. I because as opposed to Game of Thrones, where you have a lot of different characters with a lot of different backgrounds who are spread out across multiple continents, here you have this one group of characters from like one or two families all in this one location. So you get to kind of focus on each of them individually, and their kind of journeys across this 10 episode arc. Where when I was watching the show, the time jumps were a little bit confusing because I was never aware of how much time was actually being skipped. But looking back on it, I don't have that much of a problem. So yeah, I thought this was a very, very good season. I am very intrigued to see where it's going to go from here, especially since the ending was just wow. The performances were excellent, and it felt like classic Game of Thrones, while also not feeling that much like Game of Thrones, if you know what I mean. Number 6 is Moon Knight. Um, I wasn't loving a lot of the MCU's output this year. This was easily among some of their best work. Um, it's not perfect. The finale is a little bit rushed. And I've seen a lot of people talk about how it's like, oh, there's just these. It's supposed to be about this one guy, but then there's this big Egyptian god battle at the end, and I get that. It wasn't a huge problem for me, but I see where that argument is coming from. Here, I just really really liked this show. I will say it is kind of carried by the lead character, but I mean, I think everything else about the show is solid. It's just not as good as the lead character. Let's just talk about some of the other, like, not the lead character for a second. It's creative. Some of the like the backstory stuff that they go into, and when it gets like weird and trippy, starting in like episode 4, it's it is weird. It is trippy, but it's cool and it's unique and it's different from a lot of stuff in the MCU, and I love to see more of that. I think the villain here is really cool, and Harrow. You get some neat stuff with Egyptian mythology, which I don't know a ton about, but it has. And then you get all this like hunting around for stuff that's pretty cool. But I mean, the main appeal here is this excellent lead character who is played to absolute perfection by Oscar Isaac. He's fascinating because you start the series off, you don't really know what's going on. Like Steven, Mark, other violent guy. And as it goes on, it gives you answers, and it gives you satisfying answers where it's like, oh, that makes sense. That's actually really sad. Especially as you get into like episode 5, which is my favorite episode of the series. So this is an excellent lead character. I would love to see more of him in the future. I'd like to see more of him as Moon Knight, because I mean we didn't get a whole lot of that in this show, but it was more of like a study of Mark Spector slash Stephen Grant slash Jake Lockley, except not really because he only really showed up at the end. But anyway, um, so yeah, this is one of my favorite MCU TV shows so far. I really liked it. It's not perfect, but it is very good. Number 5 is Cobra Kai Season 5. Now, this isn't one of my favorite seasons of Cobra Kai. I think some of the storytelling is a little bit messy, like at the beginning with Miguel, and it's like, okay, what was the point to any of that happening? But, but, I will say this, that this is still, even when this show is at its not best, it's still really, really good. Because it just has all of these super satisfying moments where you get hooked on like these characters' journeys, and I think with this season it's set up a natural conclusion for the show. I think it should end after the next season. Um, but that's just one guy's opinion. But yeah, the action is all great as usual. And you get like a little bit more dimension into some other characters that have been introduced into this world at least. Like Mike Barnes, I really like what they did with Mike Barnes. They brought in Chosen as like a main-ish character. That was cool. And then you just get some amazing moments like Daniel LaRusso's three karate rivals from the original trilogy. Johnny Lawrence, Chosen, Mike Barnes, they're all teaming up drunkenly, but still, to go and fight Terry Silver, the evil sensei. Come on, that's awesome. And speaking of Terry Silver, he's a great villain. He's just manipulative and vile that he basically causes a rift in Daniel's marriage. So, yeah, even though this is not my favorite season of this show at all, it's still very, very good. And I am excited to see what the next season brings. It hasn't been greenlit yet. I don't know. Number 4, Kevin Can F Himself Season 2. If you haven't heard of this show, please, please watch it. It's not, it takes a little while to get going, especially this second season. It is slowly paced, but it's deliberately slowly paced, and it pays off so unbelievably well in the finale. Where it's about, I'm not going to tell you what it's about. Just watch the show. It's really good. So, it goes in depth with like the implications of the actions of our main character Allison, played very well by Annie Murphy. And at one point, like earlier in the season, you start to see like, oh, yeah, this was a really dumb idea, and you kind of knew this already, but the way the show is set up, it's like, oh, this was a really dumb idea. And then you kind of get back into, well, yeah, but I'm not going to go any further because I really love for all of you to experience this show. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but I don't know. This is a recommendation. Film Watcher approved. I don't know. There's a picture somewhere. Anyway, this is a very good show. I think this second season, I don't know if it's better than the first one. I haven't seen the first one in a while, but this was still a really, really, really solid season, and it is absolutely worth checking out. If you're okay with like a slower paced show with that doesn't have like a ton of action all the time and is like interestingly, for like the framing device is very, very intriguing for this show, I'd check it out. Yeah. Number 3 is Wednesday. Now, this is a show this is the one I was talking about earlier. I didn't watch this until after the year was over, which is kind of why I put this video off. Because otherwise Kenobi would have been in my top 10, and I don't think it deserves to be in my top 10, even though it is my second favorite Star Wars TV show. Andor is still not better, in my opinion. Anyway, Wednesday was a really good show. I think the murder mystery element was very cool. And there was some stuff I didn't see coming. Like it was intriguing. It kept me interested. Jenna Ortega, fantastic. She's excellent in this role. She embodies Wednesday perfectly. And I liked a lot of the side characters at this Nevermore Academy that she interacts with. Some of them, not the best. I really didn't care about either of her love interests. Like this one guy whose name is Tyler, I thought he was poorly acted, and he poorly written. And this other guy was just also poorly acted and poorly written to a slightly lesser degree. But I know one standout of this show, aside from Jenna Ortega, was Gwendolyn Christie, because it was a lot classier of a role than she's used to playing, because like you get to Game of Thrones and like Brienne of Tarth, that's not like she's dignified, but there's such a roughness to her, and here she's just this very demure. Is that a word? I don't know. But yeah, she was a standout here. I really liked Luis Guzman and Catherine Zeta-Jones as Gomez and Morticia. I thought that was a cool dynamic. So yeah, it's a really fun show. I love the Addams Family as characters. I'm very interested in what the second season of this is going to bring. Number 2, Stranger Things 4. Yeah, okay, rewatching this season, it is way too long. Like, everything takes so long to happen, and it's like, okay, does every conversation need to be this drawn out? It's like it has a Stranger Things now has a distinct vibe where it's like, okay, this is happening, now this is happening. It's like, okay, does it need to be this long? Like the basketball players rewatching the season, they didn't need to be there at all. Like there could have been, if you wrote it slightly differently, they could have been kicked out completely and very little would have changed. Anyway, even with that said, even with not all the storylines being as interesting as one another, the main plot line with Vecna and Max and like the all the this stuff with the Upside Down was fantastic. Vecna's a great villain. It adds a lot of dimension to characters who like they were good characters, but I don't know if they were great characters. Max in particular, she has become one of my like probably top three. And then it introduces characters like Eddie, who are just very entertaining. Argyle, um, and like it ends in such a satisfying way that you can kind of forgive a little bit of the clunkiness of the setup to get there. Like the whole conclusion where like everything's happening at once, different characters are in different places, and it's all like happening at the same time, and it's so well done. And I think it was as drawn out as it may seem. I think it was all set up very well to create a satisfying conclusion to this season and a very interesting setup going into season 5, the final season. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, this was a probably it is my favorite season since the first season. Not quite as good as the first season, but it's still really good. So yeah, Stranger Things 4. And I finally got the thinking cap hat. Yeah. Number 1 though, it's Better Call Saul season 6. Yeah, it wasn't even a question here. This season is just unreal. It's so great. It's like you got the first half where it's a lot of just very humorous shenanigans with Jimmy and Kim. I was about to say Jim and Kimmy, whatever. And then you get all the sad stuff with like Nacho, and the first half of this season, like you get all this fun, goofy stuff with Howard and the ridiculousness of the things going on there, and it's all fun. And then you get to what it actually leads to, and it is earth shattering. Wow. Like, the way the first half of the season concludes, I was amazed. Like, I had no idea what was happening, and it was a fantastic conclusion. And then you get into the second half, and it's like, the real story of Better Call Saul that was being told here ends a couple episodes in. And that's also fantastic. And then you get this other thing that's like following up on not just on like the openings of each season of this show, as well as on the conclusion of Breaking Bad, and the show does it in such a way that it's just so brilliantly written. Like you get to some of this stuff and it's like, okay, wait, why are we just watching him like rob a store and give a guy Cinnabons? What's the point of this? And then you see, oh, this is all leading to this. Okay, I see what you're doing. The finale, fantastic. It was such a perfect conclusion for Saul Goodman, for Jimmy McGill, more importantly, and to the Breaking Bad universe as a whole. It's such a fantastic show. I don't know if this is my favorite season. It is a fantastic season, though. And without question, it is absolutely my favorite season of television that came out this year. Such a perfect conclusion to this absolutely amazing television franchise. So, yeah, it is my number 1. Thank you all for watching. Share your own lists of the best TV shows you saw this year in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and keep calm and watch on.